Welcome to the Women's Connection. I'm Barrie-Louise Switzen, your moderator. The Women's Connection is a program about events shaping women's lives and helping one gain authentic power on a personal or professional level. So won't you stay tuned?
Welcome. I am delighted to welcome back Sharon Lechter, philanthropist, CPA, author, and a big supporter of women. And welcome, Sharon. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be back with you. It's always a delight.
Delightful to have you. You wrote a book based on Napoleon Hill's work, Think and Grow Rich for Women, Using Your Power to Create Success and Significance. Napoleon Hill, to me, was ahead of his time in creating thoughts for success. What is your take on this whole thing now?
Well, his original book, Think and Grow Rich, was released in 1937, and it really is the quintessential work of success. All gurus today use some piece of Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill was the first one who talked about the law of attraction, which was, of course, popularized by The Secret, the movie and the book. He's the first one that wrote about the mastermind. He's the first one that said, pay yourself first. And he's the first one that said, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Roosevelt got the credit for it, but he wrote it for him. And so it's really, he really created that foundation of success. He spent his life researching success. He was given that charge back in 1908 by Andrew Carnegie. I read it when I was 19, and it was a powerful book. It still is my favorite book of all times. But I realized in the last few years that even though the steps to success, I believe, are the same for men and women, we tend to approach those steps very differently. So that's really my goal, was to say how best to look at his steps of success, but through the eyes of successful women. And it was a wonderful project.
Well, how do women look at success differently than men? I mean, they think different, but how do they look at success differently?
Well, I think the tagline, my subtitle, is you standing in your power, using your power to create success and significance. And I have those two words because women tend to define success differently than men do. Men typically define success by the number in their banks, their net worth. Women want to have impact. Now, of course, I always get into trouble when I do generalized statements, but success is different for different people. And women, I've found, certainly in the last few years, the world of business has changed. The world of business has gone from being a competitive dog-eat-dog world to one that's very collaborative and cooperative, and women excel in that type of an environment. And so to write this book at this time was very important because I wanted to change the dialogue. You and I have talked before about, women's role has gotten much stronger in the business world, but women still tend to be very negative and complain about the men that stand in their way or the men that keep them from creating success. And I wanted to change the dialogue because there's still a lot that needs to be done. But women are basically, we need to celebrate what has already accomplished and what women has accomplished so that we can make more change more quickly.
What do you consider successful characteristics of entrepreneurs?
Well, I think success is how you feel about yourself when you look in the mirror. It's something that it's so important for each of us to know what our own definition, what our goals are, and what we believe successful. I have women who are friends of mine who are extremely successful in what they do, and they do a lot of good work in their community. They're not really concerned about the amount of money they have. They make a decent living, but they're very, very happy. And so the issue is, and I know an awful lot of other women who are very successful financially who are miserable in their lives. And so I want to bring both of them together and say, how can we make this definition so that people can find success and happiness in their lives?
Well, all right, so we have some that are happy, some that are sad. It sounds like the people who are unhappy don't like what they're doing and need to find something else. But what are some of the other characteristics that people have? Are they fearful? Do they, like you say, they have the negative attitude, which I think is, I walk away from people with negative attitudes.
Good for you.
I just, I don't have time for this. What is your take on it?
Well, I have found in my twilight, as I enter the twilight of my career, that a general characteristic for women is a lack of self-confidence. Either men don't have a problem saying, I'm an expert at something. Women tend to say, I'm pretty good at it, instead of saying, I am an expert. And so we want women to find that power within themselves. But I also, in the book, Think and Grow Rich for Women, I talk about, let's admit the fact that maybe we aren't our best own promoter. I'm very good at promoting you, but I'm not that great at promoting Sharon. So let's work together and promote each other and surround yourself with people that will promote you while you're promoting them, while your own self-confidence grows. Because I think that's one of the biggest issues for women entrepreneurs who are starting their own business, is they feel like they have to do it by themselves and they're afraid to ask for help. And so I want people to understand business is a team sport. Surround yourself with people who want you to succeed and create that sisterhood of success.
Well, okay, I'll take your help. I want to grow my baseline of the Women's Connection. So where would I start to grow it?
Well, the personal success equation that we released in the book 3 Feet from Gold, which I know that you've read, we had another show on that one, is really the fundamental of success for anyone. And it's basically P plus T, which means your passions and your talents. Now, for me, my passion, we've heard people talk about love what you do what you love. Well, for me, my passion came from anger. I was mad that we weren't teaching our children about money in school. So my passion is as strong today as it was over 20 years ago when I decided to pursue financial education and financial literacy. And then talent. I'm a CPA, have been for more years than I would like to admit. And my talent and my experience in publishing, I was able to combine those with my passion. And most of us stop there and think that we have to build the business alone. But the success equation has some other very important elements. P plus T times A, that first A is for association, knowing who to work with, who to help support you. Go to a new networking organization. Who do you have as your team of advisors? Who's on your team? Who complements your weaknesses and can support your strengths? And then it's another times another A, action, taking action. Typically when I talk to entrepreneurs, when they've stalled and plateaued, I say, when was the last time you expanded your network? When did you go to a new networking organization? When did you actually get a bigger picture for your business and think about how can I expand my business? And then we almost went to press with that as the success equation, P plus T times A times A. And I said, wait a minute, I think there's still an element that's missing here. People that we were highlighting in 3 Feet from Gold had tremendous faith. So all of that formula, there's a big plus F at the end, and that does not stand for fear. It stands for faith. Faith in themselves, faith in what they were doing, faith that it was necessary, faith that it was important, and faith that it would succeed. We've all heard the comment, take a leap of faith. I go, well, wait a minute. When you take a leap of faith, it's like you're closing your eyes and jumping. I want women to take a leap with faith, eyes wide open, knowing that they will succeed. And what they're doing is very important. The most successful businesses do one of two things: solve a problem or serve a need. And we have a lot of problems and we have a lot of needs in today's society. And so there's huge opportunity. And always remind yourself every morning, what's the problem I'm solving? What need am I serving? And that's going to give you that energy to keep going.
Now you say go out and network. What do you find networking, mentoring, and mastermind can be combined, or are they all three separate ideas?
Good question. Excellent. Networking is kind of like a shotgun. So you not use that kind of a, but it's like you're out there looking to see who can help you expand your circle. So that's kind of the prospecting tool. Okay, the mastermind is, again, the concept started by Napoleon Hill. The mastermind is bringing people together and benefiting from their collective brilliance. You know, I say 1 + 1 is not 2, it's 11. And so when you have 3 or 4 people in a mastermind, you're getting exponential results because you're bringing all of their education, all of their experience, all of their all of their ups and downs and how they recovered from those ups and downs together. And so they help speed your way to success. Mentoring is the highest level of that. And advisors, that mentor or advisor is someone who has been where you want to go, has helped others get to where you want to go, and can help direct you, help guide you around the pitfalls, and get you to where you want to go more quickly. So each has its place, but each is very definite. And then in the mastermind category, I dig a little deeper. I look at 4 different masterminds in our lives, minimum of 4. One is a personal mastermind. Maybe you have a group of girlfriends and you just really want to keep each other happy and keep going on your personal goals. One may be a physical mastermind where you've got a group of friends and you guys work out together and you're thinking about how to keep yourself going in the right direction. And then in your business, you've got a mastermind that works on your business. Now that probably will include employees, customers, people to really say, what's happening on the front lines? How can I do a better job of serving the people that I'm serving and improve my business delivery? And then there's a mastermind working on your business. And those are your strategic advisors. It might be your accountant, your attorney, somebody, a marketing expert, even maybe somebody from a competitor, where you have the brilliance of these people that can help you look at the strategic plan and the big vision for your company.
With all that, what makes women give up or be fearful?
I think it's the lack of self-confidence.
Goes back to that.
We talk about put your ask in gear. A friend of mine, Rita Davenport, said, put your ask on. Don't forget to ask. Because what happens is we're fearful that people are going to say no to us, and so we don't ask. And it's that action that's so important, is that you understand who can help you and make sure that you're in equity, from a standpoint of, so if you're asking somebody to be your mentor and they created great success, they can't have 20 mentors, but they can have mentees, but they can have mentees who are also there to support them and add value to their team. And so it's important that people understand that there needs to be an equity between the mentor and the mentee that adds value for both.
When you say find a mentor, is a man a better mentor or is a woman a better mentor? Or does it matter?
It matters who the right person is to be your mentor, not their gender. I mean, in Think and Grow Rich for Women, I talk about the fact that it's not women against men. We do think very differently. Our minds are very different. In fact, I have some brain scans from the University of Pennsylvania that shows men tend to kind of stay in one side of their brain. They're very strategic thinkers. They're very decisive. They tend to make decisions more quickly. Women, we're all over the place. Our brain scan goes back and forth across both sides. We're better big picture. We're better at problem solving. But sometimes we get into analysis paralysis. And so it's when you bring the brilliance of men and women together that you get the greatest results. And so that's the essence of understanding your mentor may be a woman or it may be a man. It's somebody who has your best interests in mind, who has been where you want to go or can open doors for you to get there.
In the book, Think and Grow Rich for Women, what individuals stood out in achieving their success for you?
Wow, that's a hard question. So many of them. I mean, I have young women who literally started a business. For instance, the women, they're just turned another big birthday, but Sarah O'Meara and Yvonne Feddersen, they were the founders of Child Help. And they've been in business in child help for 65 years. They've impacted millions of children's lives around the globe. Child Help was formed to eradicate child abuse and to treat the victims and help put smiles back on their faces. And this is the 8th year they've been put up for the Nobel Peace Prize. And as we all know, the economy has been up and down in the last few years. And throughout it all, they have been steadfast in delivering the services they needed. And some years have been tough, but yet their steadfast faith and desire to make sure these children get the love and the treatment that they deserve has conquered every defeat, and it's been incredible to watch them persevere. And there are other women in the book that, you know, we talk about, you know, the founder of Spanx. Of course, you know, we all love her product. We may not know her name, Sarah Blakely, but one of the youngest women billionaires there is, and she's giving back. And so I love highlighting these women who have created great success, but at the same time see the responsibility to be in service to others. And it just was a glorious journey of watching all of these women and seeing some of the women from history that really opened the doors and made things work for us.
At the end of your chapters, you have a questionnaire. Ask yourself, how did you come up with it? Because every chapter's got different questions.
Well, my goal, as I mentioned before, was to honor Napoleon Hill in the original Think and Grow Rich. So each chapter follows a similar outline. It has a synopsis of Napoleon Hill's original message. And then I have several women who have created success in their life using that principle primarily. Then I talk about how I've used that principle in my own life. And then I have what I call Sisterhood Mastermind, which is a series of quotes, women from history, women from government, women CEOs, women of philanthropy, and quotes related to that essence. But then I said, you know, really the most important person reading the book is that reader, not the people I talk about in the book. It's the person holding the book. And so I decided that for each chapter I was going to have an ask yourself question, and asking the reader, how have you already applied this principle in your journey, in your life, and found success? And what can you do today, tomorrow, next week to apply that principle in a bigger way to speed your own way to success? And the additional benefit of doing those questions is not just for the individual reader, but for women to get together and study the book together and discuss those questions and set a course and a plan to improve their lives very quickly.
You also talk about the it factor. What do you consider the it factor?
Well, my it factor and your it factor may be the same, or they may be different. You know, what is the one thing that lights your fire? What is it that gets you excited and gets you going? I mean, I got an email this morning from a young woman who wants to come to my dedicated Entrepreneur Summit that we're having in September. And she said, you know, I was at a seminar with you in the UK, it's been probably 5 years ago. And she says, my husband and I were there, and you changed my husband's life. Something you said actually turned on his fire. I don't know what I said, but to get that kind of email was it's my it factor. It's knowing that I'm making a difference in somebody's life. As a child, my father would ask me each night, have you added value to someone's life today? I lost my dad 9 years ago, but I still ask myself that every night. And to have that kind of out of the blue message from someone today, as you know, I'm in town at the Book Expo, and I had a girl come running up to the booth, jumping up and down, and because she's read Think and Grow Rich for Women, and she loved it, and she shared it with all the women she knows. And I mean, that is such an incredible and awesome experience to know that something that I was involved in, something that I wrote, inspired someone to take action to improve their lives. It's absolutely an incredible, humbling experience, and it always makes my day.
Talking about emails, I'm sure you get a ton. If not, between, let's see, you're on Google+, Facebook, LinkedIn, I don't know, whatever else. How do you manage it all?
Well, I have trained a couple of young 20 and 30-year-olds who love that stuff and can dedicate some time to it, about my philosophy. They know my words, they know my thought process, because I think it's very important for each of us to remain brand consistent. And I still spend a tremendous amount of day. I spend several hours a day on my social media, because I think it's so important that the messaging be consistent and that there be a constant touch, and giving value that doesn't cost anything. I mean, I give a lot of stuff away free because I want to add value to people's lives. But I think it is very important for me to have people get responses, and sometimes something falls through the crack and it just drives me nuts. But we do get an awful lot of people that reach out to us, and through various ways. I mean, the private messaging on Facebook sometimes gets overwhelming for me because I don't have somebody overlooking my shoulder making sure that's being handled. But it's very important to me that we hear from people. I want to make it easy for people to contact us. And if anybody has reached out to us and not gotten a response, give us another shot, because we're improving every day.
One of the things that you had talked about in either your emails about growing your business, but also what I classify as residual income.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that? And do you have any key things to suggest looking into residual income?
Well, residual income is also what I call passive income. And that's where you have created a business or an opportunity or an asset that generates revenue for you. And that residual income is putting, that asset's putting money in your pocket. I often say the sexiest word in business is the word asset. And the second sexiest word is royalty income, or residual income from that asset. So in real estate, for instance, if you buy a piece of real estate and you have a tenant who's paying you rent, and that rent is more than what it costs you to maintain that property, that net amount that you get each month is passive income from that real estate. And so that's a beautiful thing. If you write a book and you get royalty income, that royalty income is passive income. If you have a network marketing business, which of course is a huge industry today, and you have built and worked hard, they're not easy. And I want people to know, people say, oh, I'm going to become an overnight millionaire. A network marketing business, if they have great training, they have great mentoring, they have great programs, and if you like their product, it's a wonderful opportunity to get invested and learn from the mentors, learn their system, and share your love of the product. And you can build an incredible business with a residual income as you continue building and growing your network. But you have to go in with your eyes wide open and understand the training that you need. And so that residual income is you not working for money, your money working for you. I often say when you put $1 in your asset column, it's your employee. So make sure you keep it there and make sure it's working for you, and the money it's generating is money that will be generated for you, whether if you end up having a sick day, whether you get out of bed or not, that asset is still working for you.
I like the idea of ka-chung, 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 and not doing anything. That's
right.
great.
Ka-ching.
Ka-ching. What do you have time to read? Like, what periodicals would you read if you had the time? I mean,
Well, I found something the other day that I've actually enjoyed. It's started by a couple of women here in New York, I think, called Skim, that helps me kind of get the highlights of the news. I try to listen to the news when I'm driving or when I'm showering, when I'm getting ready in the morning, so that I kind of know what's happening. And I read in transit when I'm going places. I listen to audiobooks. I read a lot. I don't necessarily have time to read anything for pleasure, and that's something that I try to squeeze that in a week or two during the year when I can try and clear my mind. But I love what I do. I love seeing the progress that women are making and the incredible turnaround. And I think one of the biggest issues about Think and Grow Rich for women, I talked about the number one reason I wrote it was to change the dialogue from negative to positive. But there was another reason, and it was to really debunk the work-life balance myth. I don't know if you got to the last chapter, but chapter 15 is the only chapter in this book that was not in the original Think and Grow Rich. And it's called One Big Life. Because it just drives me nuts. In fact, I often laugh that my next book is going to be Balance BS. But I don't say bad words, so BS stands before Sharon. Because balance means you're not moving. If you're balanced, you're stationary. What woman do you know who's not moving, multifaceting, multitasking all the time? And what happens is we start feeling guilty about not being balanced, and we waste precious time today feeling guilty and shame. No, stop it. Understand that if you spent too much time at work yesterday and not enough time with your kids, when you get up this morning, say, I'm going to spend more time with my kids today. But don't carry that weight of shame and worry and regret my definition of the word worry is to pray for what you don't want. And so I happen to be a champion worrier, so I know what I'm talking about. But when I saw that definition, gosh, 7 or 8 years ago, it really helped me tremendously. Because I still get into my little, what I call my little worry storms, but I stop myself and I repeat that definition. To worry is to pray for what you don't want. Okay, Sharon, stop. Instead of focusing on what I don't want, I start focusing on the outcome I do want. And it really helps me reframe, and it changes my entire attitude and my entire outlook on life. And so this One Big Life was started by a brand of a friend of mine, and I just loved it. And I said, can I use your brand? Elaine Rawls. And it was looking at life. We all have our physical life, we have our spiritual life, we have our financial life, we have our business life, we have our family life. We are the complete package of all of those elements, and they cannot all be balanced. One day, one's going to be stronger than the other. And understand that you are the sum total of all of those. And if one's a little out of whack, in the morning, say, well, I better concentrate on this one a little bit. And stop giving yourself a hard time about being out of balance. Unless you're in a yoga studio.
In the coming years, there is going to be transfer from one generation to another generation, and even within the generation going forward. A lot of women are going to become widows. They have never really had to deal with the financial situation before. What would you suggest they start doing besides praying? Somebody will take care of it. They need to know, because there is so much senior abuse and senior fraud. What elements should they be aware of?
Well, you're absolutely right. Women already own 60% of all personal wealth in the United States, and over the next 40 years, they're going to inherit $30 trillion globally. So with that, which is obviously a good thing, but we have the responsibility to understand not only how to receive that money, but how to manage it, how to invest it properly so that it will grow, and also how to contribute and give back. And so it's so important that we train ourselves. And what happens is, so many times, just as you say, women outlive their husbands. So the good news is we outlive our husbands 7 years. The bad news is we outlive our husbands 7 years and we haven't figured out how to handle our lives without our husbands. And that's part of my mission behind writing Think and Grow Rich for Women, because we need to educate ourselves. Most of that lack of confidence and that fear about money is a lack of knowledge. So the first step is to figure out where you are. Most women don't even know where they are financially. And so sit down with a financial planner and help them educate you as to where you are financially. What assets do you have? What income do you have? Do you have a financial plan? Do you have long-term care insurance? Because women outlive men, it's very important for women to have that long-term care insurance, particularly with the way insurance is going today. And sometimes you get to the point where you no longer qualify for it. So the sooner you qualify for it and can get it handled, the better you are in the long term. And so every element, every step along the way, women need to be more responsible. And part of that is doing it together. Because women are fearful, so they tend to find an excuse for not doing it, find something else they need to do for someone else. So get a group of girlfriends together, create an investment club, create a money club where you actually start learning about money together, learning how to manage it, learning how to figure out where you are, where you want to go, and the best steps to get there.
With all your knowledge on the financials, is there one particular periodical that you suggest starting with?
Wow, that's a good question. A periodical. I like Fortune and Forbes. I read both of them on a regular basis to understand what their forecasts are, financial, and what they're doing. Obviously, Wall Street Journal gives you, if you read just the front page, you can get a nutshell of what's happening in the markets. But from a personal finance perspective, I think I wouldn't talk about a periodical. I think I would go online. There's a lot of free resources that people can find online. A lot of free stuff on my site, SharonLechter.com. But you can Google the issue that you're interested in. Maybe it's housing expenses. You can probably find, I have a book called Save Wisely, Spend Happily, that takes you through that process of figuring out how much money you've spent the last year. I give you the federal averages, and it helps you immediately identify what area you might be overspending in. And certainly here in New York, housing is going to be higher than the national average, but if your housing is way high, that might be something you need to look at. And so it helps people start identifying quickly the things that they should be working on to improve their financial situation.
Sharon, with all this talk about women learning finances, what is their responsibility and role in making sure their kids understand finances?
Well, a lot of times the best way for women to learn about it is to actually get involved in teaching their children about money, and they'll kind of learn along the way. I have the game Thrive Time for Teens that I just love with kids, but just sharing elements of finance in the business world around them with kids. When they take them to a fast food restaurant, talk about the owner isn't here because he has systems and people that work for him. He's a business owner. And that there's a business that creates the wrapper for the hamburger. There's a different business that creates the straw for your drink. Just talking about the world of money and the world of business, because children at the age of 4 or 5 know the difference between a $1 and a $20 bill. They know the purchasing power difference, but they don't understand the earning power difference in that $1 and $20 bills. And so that's up to us as women, as mothers, as trainers, as aunts, as just concerned citizens, to make sure our children understand the basics of money. Because each and every one of us is either a master or a slave when it comes to money. And my goal, my mission in life, is to turn slaves into masters and create our young people so they never become slaves. Give them the tools to survive. Not just survive, but thrive. Financial education is the gift of a lifetime. And as women, we have the opportunity to make sure our children are given that education before they get into debt, before they become slaves to money. And along the way, we will learn things as well. By teaching our children, we will learn it, and it will help us create a better financial future for ourselves and our families.
Do you feel that there's going to be a upturn in young women becoming entrepreneurs?
Oh, absolutely. There already is. There's a lot of focus on young girls in science and education technology. I think it's also, you're seeing a lot more young women in entrepreneurship. The young woman who created Origami Owl right here, actually, she was under 16. So there's an opportunity. Young women all across the globe are finding that they have that opportunity to work together and start their own businesses, because the highest unemployment rate we have is that age group 18 to 24. So if we can teach our young people how to be entrepreneurs, that's a skill that will last them for a lifetime, whether or not they choose to become an employee later on. When they know how to make money, they will always know how to make money. They can always take care of themselves. And that's so important, and so important for young women to give them those skills, because in giving them those skills as young entrepreneurs, it builds their self-confidence. And that's so important in young women today.
Do you find there's a niche that's missing in the entrepreneurial world?
Well, the niche is focusing on your own definiteness of a purpose. And I say, I mentioned earlier, successful businesses solve a problem or serve a need. And we have a lot of problems and needs. So the niche is defining that problem or that need that you're passionate about, and then focusing on it. And the beauty of what's been created today with the internet, whether it be LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, is you can focus in on the people who are looking for your service, looking for your business. And so marketing has been refined and defined to the point that you have the ability to have laser focus on the people that you want to serve.
With all that's on your plate, Sharon, what's next for you?
Well, I have several projects I'm working on, and right now I'm working on a bill with Matt Salmon, a congressman out of Arizona, that will be at the federal level that would require anyone getting a federally backed student loan to get financial education. And I think it's common sense, but sometimes common sense isn't too common. And I really want to make sure that these young people that are getting into a lot of student loan, one of our greatest bubbles that's about to burst is the tremendous amount of student college debt, the student loan debt that's out there, $1.3 trillion and rising. And so it's very important that we start giving these young people the education they need, not just the money. Let's give them the money and give them how to use the money, some education. And so that's a huge initiative that I'm working on. And I'm also working on some global women's initiatives that I'm very excited about, and I'll be sharing those with you in a few months.
Sounds great. Thank you. Sharon, this has been fantastic. In the closing moments of the show, what would you like to leave the audience with?
Each and every one of us, male or female, we're the CEO of our own life. And too often people kind of give up that authority to other people. You are in the driver's seat. You have your hands on the steering wheel, your foot on the accelerator, or too often on the brake. And you have the opportunity to create the life you want. You've got a huge windshield, so you can go in any direction you want to. And the rear view mirror is very small on purpose. It's so that you learn from your past, but don't let your past control you. And so set out your course, put your foot on the accelerator, know where you want to go, and bring in the people, the team around you to create the success that you want. Because if you don't do it for you, who will? There's that 10-word, 2-letter word. If it is to be, it is up to me. And it truly is. And we have choices. And I ask each and every one watching this program, are there choices you should be making as the CEO of your own life that will improve your future?
Sharon, thank you so much for joining me. It has been fabulous.
Wonderful, thank you. And thank you for all you're doing for other women. It's wonderful.
Thank you. And thank you so much for joining us. And what are you doing for you? Write us here at the Women's Connection. Love to hear from you. Bye now.